Welcome everyone to another IDEAChatCNY. It's your host, Tony Kershaw. For those of you that are tuning in for the first time, IDEAChatCNY is a live web series based at Syracuse University, dedicated to helping budding entrepreneurs like you and thought leaders all over the globe. We do interviews with awesome people doing amazing things so you can get the advice you need to launch successful ideas or land great jobs. In the past, we've covered topics related to startups, tech, design, media, and so much more. Before we bring on our guest today, I want to invite you all to use the hashtag IdeaChatCNY and tag IdeaCues on Twitter to send in questions or comments. You can also submit questions with the blue button below or comment in the live chat feed on the right. So, what are we going to be talking about today? We are going to be talking with Ben Bragdon of Ignite Upstate to learn more about his work in connecting entrepreneurs and investors across upstate New York. Ben is the founder of Ignite Upstate, a digital media platform designed for entrepreneurs to discover, discuss, develop, and fund high growth and innovative startup companies in upstate New York. He has also worked for the Pyramid Management Group at Destiny USA, where he's developing next generation smart mall technology. Ben earned his MBA from SUNY Oswego and has worked for several Fortune 500 companies, including Earthlink, Cassidy Turley Real Estate, and the Staples Corporation. So, without further ado, let's invite Ben.
Hey there.
Ben, how are you?
I'm good. How are you guys doing?
Great. Where are you right now?
So I'm on the sixth floor of Destiny USA, and just snagged a conference room because it was free. So
Sweet, sweet. I love the view behind you. Is that the skylight?
yeah, that's the thing you see from the highway. Just yeah, it's just there.
Pretty cool,
So
man. Pretty cool. So, let's just jump right into it. Tell us a little bit about Ignite Upstate, why you decided to start it, what the need was. We'll just go from there.
yeah, no, totally. Basically, we started Ignite Upstate because a friend of mine who is now an Ignite Upstate board member came to me and said, "Ignite Upstate is the place where ideas go to die." And as funny and interesting as that might have been, it really kind of struck a chord for me because this is a place where we have a lot of really high quality intellectual capacity, especially for example at SU, and other schools like Cornell and SUNY Oswego, et cetera. And no one seemed to be capturing and holding and fostering um, startup activity, the way that it needed to be fostered outside of an educational environment. So it became really clear that to make this a place where ideas wouldn't go to die, we would have to create some really substantial or a meaningful platform. Um, so yeah, I mean, basically, Ignite Upstate is that platform, and we're trying to connect entrepreneurs as the leaders of the sort of the ecosystem to different resources, which they already do themselves, obviously. But to make it a little bit easier, we wanted to provide sort of editorial content as well as resource lists and actually face-to-face introductions to the people in the ecosystem. So, and I read the book Startup Communities by Brad Feld, which if you guys haven't read that is definitely definitely a book to pick up and read. He's a really interesting guy. He's the founder of TechStars and the Foundry, which are Boulder, Colorado-based organizations. And so we wanted to kind of bring some Boulder to Syracuse. So what did we do? We basically started a website, which is just a glorified blog, quite frankly, and that's at igniteupstate.com. And we started to produce content as Anthony, as of course you know, with the help of Stacy Keefe and Sarah Roach and your whole crew there, as well as our editor Linda Lowen, who's a former New York Times editor and journalist who was willing to really dig in and help out, and I of course got out there and started to discover what was what in the ecosystem. So, and one of the questions that I get asked is sort of what's the key to success in terms of creating a startup, in terms of maybe even what I've done, which isn't really, I'm relatively new to the startup community too. I've always worked for big corporations. So I think, as I was thinking about the answer to that question, it really kind of came to me, which was the key to success is just asking for stuff, and really going for your wants. And as sort of as cliche as it sounds, that's the only way you're gonna make things happen. Standing up, asking for stuff, really asking in earnest, and being prepared to ask, ask stuff that you're gonna think that you think that people are gonna think is completely crazy and out of the ballpark. And when you start to find people who say yes, and it's not gonna be everybody, of course, then you found your people. You found the people who you want to work with, that you want to bring together, and that's what we did with the Ignite Upstate board. Pam Dillon and Andrew Sussman, where Pam was the person, friend of mine who had said this is where ideas go to die, and Andrew Sussman was her business partner. We brought on a friend of mine, Matt Holt, who works for a company called Kishmish. They're a local web development and software development company. And Dave Bulger at the Tech Garden just kind of got thrown into the loop there, and there was our board. And I didn't even actually, quite frankly, I didn't even ask Pam and Andrew to be a part of it. They gave me the idea, so I just wrote them into the business plan.
Nice.
And only a few weeks later did they recognize, like, oh, wait a minute, did you actually ever ask us to? I'm like, no, I didn't. So that was kind of cool. But yeah, just really surrounding yourself with those people, learning from them, challenging them, having them challenge you, and creating that sort of intentional relationship with those people. And that goes for everything from forming a board to when I was driving around, or when I do drive around upstate New York,
Mhm.
and Western New York, and everywhere, and I meet with people, and I just ask them, like, I say, let's get involved. What would that look like for you, basically? And I leave it open ended, but once they sort of indicate what their passion is, in terms of their role in the startup community, I hone in on it. I'm like, okay, let's blow that up, let's make it bigger, and let's figure out how we can all connect together collaboratively.
Sweet, sweet. So we've been hearing a lot about Ignite Upstate. You already know IDEA is really involved in the entrepreneurship scene, at least here in Syracuse and with the university.
Yeah.
And there hasn't been an event lately that someone hasn't referred to Ignite Upstate. You've had a lot of success. So you kind of highlighted a little bit about why you've been successful, and it sounds like it's the people, but is there anything that you're willing to tell us anyway, as far as the secret sauce of Ignite Upstate? What makes you guys so successful?
Well, that's a good question. And it's not secret. I think that's probably one of the actually, that's, as you say this and I'm processing it. That's the thing that makes Ignite Upstate successful, is the fact that there is no secret recipe. And if there were a secret recipe, we'd actually be completely missing the point. One of the things that was really clear to me when I came back, in 2011 from Washington D.C., where I lived, was that there was so much, compartmentalizing of intellectual property, and even just discussion. I mean, I gotta tell you, one of the best ways to, like, get people on board with something is to just open a discussion. I mean, and give them the space to talk. So
Hmm.
the reason I say that is that if there was a secret recipe that I was hiding, um, I'd basically just be full of crap. So like I said, I think it really has to do with opening conversations and finding people with passion, and being okay with saying no to people who don't have the kind of passion and drive to, to engage people. One of the things that Brad Feld does when somebody emails them and says, hey, they're coming to Boulder, or when they're new to the community, and they say, oh yeah, we want to be involved somehow, right? What Feld does is he comes along and says, okay, cool, that's great. We've got these 3 things we need to have done in the next 6 months. Pick one, do it, and that's kind of the test. That's like, okay, if you're really willing to do something, then you're gonna be willing to do it for free, and as part of the thank you economy, right? And that's exactly what I found with Pam and Andrew and Matt and Dave, and a whole bunch of other people that I found as I sort of started to branch out. Especially, I mean, seriously, especially you guys, and Stacy, and I mean that's I mean it's money in the bank, as you know, but it's literally um, the part of the core of our content. So you guys are willing to pitch in, roll up your sleeves, and expect nothing in return. And those are the kind of people you've got to interface with. So
Yeah.
secret sauce? No, not really. I like mustard. It's good stuff, right? I don't know. It's just you've got to have a sense of when to, like, who to engage, how to engage them. And you learn that over the course of figuring stuff out. So I don't know if
Sweet.
that answers your
So
question or not, but that's my
no,
answer.
no, it totally does. And I think it's interesting you say that because there are a lot of, content producers and, media providers out there. And I guess to kind of break through the noise of, regurgitated content and all of that, authenticity is important, you know? So, you kind of, it's kind of a secret, but it's not really a secret at the same time because it's something simple, but people aren't
Yeah.
doing it for
Well,
some odd reason.
that's totally right, and you touched on the right word there, authenticity. And authenticity is it's definitely something that if you use it and you use it well, and I don't mean use it like on and off, but I mean if you are authentic and you come across as, or not even come across, but if you are inherently and genuinely authentic, then yeah, you're totally going to get a different response than if I think you're trying to get something from me, or vice versa, right? And so, yeah, actually, that's a reasonable statement. Is the secret sauce, in a nutshell, authenticity.
Yeah. And I mean, and the other part of it too is we're in the business of storytelling, right? And
Yep.
so if I am, telling someone's story or if someone's telling a story about idea, I'd want them to tell, an honest story, I don't want it spiced up. I just want it the way that it is.
Yep.
So I think that's what people really appreciate up here.
For sure. And I think that there are, without kind of overstepping bounds, I think that there's a lot of, I think that the idea of, here's my little anthill, right? And I'm going to protect it fiercely, is a noble one. But I think that leads to the idea of, okay, we're kind of closed and we're kind of not going to talk about stuff. And, one of the questions I had asked, of me early on in at Ignite was, well, you're talking to everybody about this idea. Aren't you worried someone else is going to do it? Take your
Right.
idea of a media platform and execute on it. I said, well, first of all, no, I'm not, because number one, if somebody wanted to do it, they would have done it. Or if they do hear about what I'm saying, are jazzed up about it and decide to do it, that's awesome. We need more of that. So it's not like there's any win-lose there. So
Right.
so I think that's more of that, and that MO, that way of operating, um, is an authentic one, but it also breeds authenticity. So that when we kind of interface with people and interact with people who see that, they kind of tend to go that route too, and it becomes really clear, like I said, probably a million times now, that those are the kind of people who, when you're starting something and really want to get it going, those are the people to look for.
True. And actually, Dee makes a really good point. She says people are totally concerned about idea snatchers. In most cases, she thinks it helps to share than to keep it to yourself, which is totally true.
Yeah.
Totally
No,
true.
I would absolutely agree with that. My previous example is as evidence. I think if four other tech blogs popped up because I said I was going to do one, like, come on, that's fantastic. It ups the ante for me. It ups the ante for everybody else. That's awesome stuff.
Yeah, and that's for other storytellers that can tell stories that you physically can't tell,
Oh God,
So
yeah. I mean,
it's
one of the things I found, in exploring the upstate startup communities, there's so much actually going on. It's wild. And so yeah, I mean, you guys know this because you publish stuff. I know this because I publish stuff. Um, we need a staff that's like the size of Syracuse Media Group to no, seriously, to really go out, dig in, cover this stuff, cover all the deals, cover all the nuances, and I would love to have competitors. Really, seriously.
This is true. This is true.
So, yeah.
So let's switch gears a little bit. We talked about the editorial content. That's a huge component of what you do. But then there's this other thing that you do that's also been getting a lot of attention, and that's Beta Night.
Yeah.
So could you tell us a little bit about Beta Night? What inspired you to start it, and why should people attend Beta Night?
Yeah, so basically, Beta Night started because I had a contract with Center State to run Syracuse Coworks, and one of our Coworks members was actually sort of actively doing their own single company Beta Night, and they were trying to recruit people, and they were having a tough time, and they're here's the thing, developers oftentimes aren't the best communicators. We know this. There's nothing wrong with that, right? But I thought, okay, if we've got this platform to like be the mouthpiece and develop narrative and create narrative for these companies, why not A, bring them face to face, and B, help them out in a meaningful way. So we created Beta Night. It started because I thought, well, there must be other companies who are looking to test their stuff, in whatever state of development it's in, doesn't matter. Um, so why don't we get those companies together? And then, oh my gosh, that would be a really great way to get people from the community to interface with some of the technologies that are being developed here. Because again, I would say the prevailing perception is that, again, this is the place where ideas go to die. So again, to shift that perspective, it's like, okay, guys, well, if that's the case, then be a part of this. Just come down, right? So I told this idea in the very beginning to a couple of friends, and they were like, "Oh yeah, like, do you need sponsorship money?" And I was like, "Sure," So we got some pretty nice sponsorship for the first event, and we just threw it. We got some wine and some food, and it was great. Like, it was awesome stuff. And I think we had almost 80 people come to the first one. Um, and almost the same number of people who came to the second one. The first one was last October, and then this past one was we've sort of started to create some structure for it. So the first quarter of 2014. Um,
Okay.
but yeah, and basically it's sort of like trade show style right now, though we're sort of currently open to ideas, format ideas. But we had a little bit of a pitch at the beginning of this past one where each company did a real quick, here's my stuff and here's why you want to come see me, and then we had some food and some drinks, and it was free for the public, and they got to come and interface with a lot of really interesting and neat and really innovative companies, a couple of which we're actually working on possibly using here at Destiny for a couple different things.
Cool.
It's like, good for the ecosystem. It's good for us. It's good for Ignite. It's good for everybody that these connections are being made. So why would I come to Beta Night? I would come to Beta Night to try and find a different belief about the startup community, and also just to really commune with people who are kind of on the same level. That's what a lot of people come for, I think. So
Cool, cool. I know I was actually there and I met a couple of different entrepreneurs that I actually didn't know existed. And I think that's, one of the more critical components, especially if you have a startup, is, building your network out. We always talk about network and how crucial it is. And one of the, ways to do that is to go to events like this. So since, they
absolutely.
are happening once a quarter, make sure if you're an entrepreneur and you're trying to make connections in upstate, you want to go to Beta Night because people are there.
Definitely. No, they are. And it's great, with IDEA and Center State and all the different organizations, Start Fast. And then also, we had sponsors for this past one as well. And that was like Northland Communications, the Tech Garden, Creekwalk Commons, which is that new building for downtown students, and Start Fast, which is the Tech Stars for Syracuse. We what was great was this time they were putting a little bit of money, which was fantastic, but they were also promoting it too. They wanted their dollars to be effective, so it was like, wow, so we really did, and you're right, that discovery piece is crucial. If you think you're an entrepreneur and you're here and you're going, what am I doing here? This is a place to come, definitely.
Totally, totally. So we talked about beta night. We talked about the editorial stuff. Now let's talk super big picture. Let's talk about Upstate in general. Let's talk about the ecosystem. We had an idea chat with Kyle Blumen, investor, a local, someone who has worked here, has worked, all over the country, and we discussed, what the future for Upstate looked like in terms of entrepreneurship. And
Yeah.
being someone that's new to the scene, still very versed in, startup speak, so to speak. Where do you think Upstate is heading?
Well, so first of all, Kyle's a great guy, and I love his opinions on things. He actually have done CrossFit together.
Oh,
So another, I think there's a CrossFit startup thing going on with, especially with like Hinman, and there's a whole thing.
right.
But
Yeah,
anyway,
we had the show 2 or 3 weeks ago, actually.
yeah, with Urban Life, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, no, totally. I think that there are a couple scenarios. I mean, truthfully, there are probably an unlimited number of scenarios, but I see a couple different scenarios for this upstate New York startup community. I think it's growing, but I'm not sure if it's growing very fast. I think we need Ignite Upstate copycats. I think we need, more Start Fast startup labs programs. There is actually money out there, as it turns out. You just have to know where it is, right? So you really, we need more of the critical mass piece. So I think without the additional critical mass, without any of what I would call the help, so to speak, um, the ecosystem is going to grow as fast as it's going to grow organically, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. And what's actually really interesting about that is one of my friends, Mike Kruk of Crow's Nest, which is a startup company. I think they're still going through startup labs. Was at launch in California last week, and
Oh,
yeah, no, and he came back. I met with him yesterday or 2 days ago, or whatever it was, and he said, the ideas that he was hearing from people on the West Coast, people who went to launch, weren't fundamentally all that different than the things he's
hmm,
hearing here, which is really, really cool. And it's really, really cool because if we have the same level and quality and access to information, um, level and quality of intellectual, capacity here, that's awesome. Now what that does mean is that if somebody notices that in an area where there's a lot of support, they'll just grab them, and of course they'll leave here. But I think if we can get a critical mass of people here who are thinking that way and are connected to the support system, even if
hmm,
it's the same support system that exists right now, I think that's the best chance. So I think that transitions into things like companies like Destiny, for example. One of my thoughts was, hey, we're working on these analytics projects here, or I am at least. Let's engage some of these guys, and maybe
totally.
we also engage big companies too, and we pick the best one that's right for the budget and right for the application and whatever it might be. But like, give them a shot. We can at least give them trials, and we're actually doing a trial right now. We're working with Crow's Nest to do a side-by-side comparison. I can't really tell you what it is, but we're
Okay.
we're we're going to do a major competitor that does a lot less, right, at higher accuracy, and
Hmm.
compare it to some of what Crow's Nest does, some of their applications. So yeah, it was like, oh my gosh, if we could get this information um, by using a local company, that's fantastic.
Do it,
Um,
right?
you know,
It
so
only makes
so
sense.
no, it does, it does. So I think if there were other companies that are out there that are, I mean, we're a multi-billion-dollar company. Um, I don't know. What about SRC? What about, I don't know. I think there could be some real incentive for these big companies to utilize the flexibility that startups provide them, you know,
Totally, totally. And I
especially
think
for
that's
growth.
actually, we're going to segue into some of our audience questions, but I think one major point I want to make is we're starting to see a lot of large corporations use the specialized services of these smaller companies
Yep.
because instead of investing, time, energy, money, people into trying to figure out something you don't know how to do, just hire someone or buy them out
Yep.
that can do it better than you can. And
No,
so I
totally.
think that's a great opportunity for startups to, take advantage of what they know how to do best, and market themselves that way, you know? It's
Absolutely. I
totally
mean, the for us, the cost of engaging, a startup company, like there's an organization that we're working with right now we're doing some trials with them, and we bought the hardware. They're going to do all the testing. They're going to give us access to the data completely for free. Like that's the best case scenario. I mean,
yeah,
literally, right? We own the stuff. They've got the software. We're probably going to use it anyway. We know that we think this, but come on, like $1,000 in, whatever, right? This is good stuff.
right,
So,
totally. So let's jump into an audience question, and then I think we're going to wrap up. So talking about, I guess, buy-in, talking about sponsors, talking about companies, getting involved in this kind of stuff. Why do you think those sponsors sponsored Beta Night? What was in it for them?
you know, um, so the traditional answer is exposure. It's marketing dollars. But I'll tell you, I think that I mean, really all of these organizations, including you guys, including Kishmish, including these other companies, um, I think the thing that attracted them was the energy of kind of a movement. Um,
Hmm.
I know that Northland Communications, for example, like Start Fast, those guys just get it, and that's great. Like they're in this world anyway. They get that it takes seed capital and venture capital. Um, but like Northland, they're a local service provider. But when I met with Matt Dwyer and Maureen, they saw what we were working on and they wanted to just be a part of it in any way that was meaningful, not to them, but to us, which was really cool and very altruistic. They wanted to attach to our momentum, um, by way of facilitating an event.
Hmm.
And I think that was really awesome. It really, I think they saw what we were doing. I remember talking to Matt and he was like, this is great stuff. Let us know how we can support you. And they were even willing to talk to some of the companies that came. I think one of the companies that came to the last beta night talked with Matt Dwyer from Northland and got some free rack space or something. Because
Nice.
they were willing. I mean, that's stuff that they've already bought, and if they've got capacity and they can, that's good for everybody. So,
True.
so
True.
yeah.
So, I think we're gonna wrap up. So, do you have any last words for any of the viewers that are going to be watching this in the future? Whether it's, something about Upstate, any advice on startups, maybe how to get sponsorship if they're starting things up.
Yeah, I think it would be a recap of most of the things we've already said. So I don't really have anything specific. I think authenticity is crucial to getting sponsorship. You know, some of our sponsors just like handed me their credit card and I swiped it on my iPhone. That's a trust thing. It's a huge. I mean, it sounds goofy. That's a huge trust thing. Like
Yeah, that's totally
you
true.
know
Yeah.
and I made sure to like point it and show them like what the numbers were, that I wasn't charging like ten million dollars to this thing. um
True.
but the other thing I guess I would say is overarching theme is like, um you never know what's going to come from a connection or a trip or a mistake or anything you do. You just never know where that's going to go. So I would say that when it comes to being in the startup community, when it comes to looking for money, when it comes to engaging customers, just do it, number one, and number two, be open to what comes back. Make up reasons for yourself that things happen, whether they were good or bad. and make up things that help you go where you want to go. Make up positive things that kind of allow you to keep cranking away and doing what you love to do. So that's kind of my sort of Zen esque advice to everyone. So yeah.
Awesome. Well, Ben, thank you so much for your time. I know it's probably really hectic and really busy over there with all your projects at Destiny, so thank you on behalf of all of our viewers.
No, thank you. It's been a pleasure.
All right, take care, man.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye. So everyone, that wraps up another IDEAChatCNY. So if you want to learn more about Ignite Upstate, follow them on Twitter at Ignite Upstate and visit their website to learn more about Beta Night and many of the other great startups that they're covering in their editorial content on their website. Keep the conversation going on Twitter. If you heard something that you liked, whether it was a good quote, good piece of advice, share it. Use the hashtag IDEAChatCNY and make sure to tag IDEACUSE when you do it. Make sure you check out our previous shows and tune in into our next show with Jewel Sparks, who's the CEO and founder of Strategic Diversity Group Incorporated and BitHouse. She's actually in South by Southwest right now, so we're really looking forward to having a chat with her about the importance of thinking big and what South by was like. Lastly, until next time, keep connecting, keep asking questions, and keep tuning in to IDEAChatCNY to learn more about what's happening in upstate New York and how you can be that entrepreneur that you really want to be. Till next time, folks, take care.